Hello, I'm Petru and welcome to WellCode. A lot of people get into writing code and programming because they want to develop their own video games. So in this video I'm gonna show you how to create a popular 2048. As you may know, 2048 is a browser game which appeared I think 3 or 4 years ago. And you have to combine boxes in order to form higher numbers, and you win whenever you're formed the number 2048. And in this video I'm gonna show you how to build a basic version in C++. It won't have all the fancy graphics, but those are just the details, because after you understand how to implement it, it's very easy to just do it again in JavaScript, or to use some graphical interface library. You can just search on Google for that. Okay, so let's look at the game and get a sense about what we need to implement. First of all, we need a part where we generate random numbers, random positions on the board, and put there the number 2. Sometimes there also appears a 4, but we can do first the basic version where always the number 2 appears. Otherwise, we can just do that 2 times, and once just put the number 2 and then put the number 4. Then we have to be able to simulate the movement. So whenever we're moving on a direction and there are 2 equal boxes, we need to combine them into a higher value box. And this is pretty easy. We just need to read from the keyboard. We need to read the direction and then update the board depending on the combinations which are made. Another thing we need to take care of is if we press a key and nothing happens, we shouldn't generate a new box. So the new boxes are generated only when at least 2 boxes combine, or when at least 1 box moves. So here, if I'm pressing down, you see nothing new gets generated, because everything is already in place. Okay, so let's go and write the code. So I'll create a new project called 2048, and let's start writing the code for it. Okay, now let's start to think about what are the variables and what functions do we need. First of all, we need to have a matrix which is 4 by 4, I think. Yeah, it's 4 by 4 and holds all the values. It will be of type int because it will hold integers, and a value of 0 will mean that we don't have any box in that field. So let's say board. I won't use object-oriented programming because this is a pretty basic game, so I don't think it would be useful here. If you are also wanting to build a graphical interface, you may want to also use object-oriented programming. First of all, we need a function called new game, which will reset all the variables. We'll have to set the board to 0, I smaller than 4, plus I, j equals 0, j smaller than 4, plus j, and board of I and j equals 0. And now we need that directional mapping, because it will be unpleasant to write 4 if cases whenever we are pressing a key. So we can do a direction for line and a direction for column. And this will mean that if we'll map the direction, the up, down, left, and right, we'll map them to numbers from 0 to 3. 0 will be down, so we are increasing the line and we don't change the column. 1 will be for right, so we don't change the line, but we're increasing the column. 2 will be for 2 will be for up, which will decrease the line and won't change the column, and 3 will be for left, which will decrease the column and it will leave the line unchanged. And now whenever we are pressing a key, we just need to map the key from we just need a mapping from the key to the direction. So now we have to read the input, so we can do an infinite loop, and now we should print a menu. Alright, so now we want to print a menu. Actually, we want to also print the board, and also print a menu explaining all the commands. So I think I'll call this print UI from print the user interface. And yeah, first of all, we need to print the board for equals 0, I is smaller than 4, plus I, and j equals 0, j is smaller than 4, plus j. And now if board I j equals 0, then we just want to print a space, and otherwise we want to print a number board I of j, and we also want to print a new line. And now we need to command. The commands will just be one character, and we'll read a command. Okay, let's see how this thing works. It shouldn't print anything. Yeah, it doesn't print anything. It's just spaces. And now we have to print a menu saying N means new game, W means up, S means down, D means right, and A means left. I also need to change this to that and use a new line. And now we have an empty board and a list of commands, and I can print W meaning up, or N meaning new game, and we also need a quit button, so Q will mean quit. Okay, now let's start processing the command. If command equals N, then we will call the function new game. Else, if command equals Q, then we'll break the loop. All right, and otherwise we need to do a mapping, and command to direction. This basically takes the input, it takes a character and maps it to the corresponding number. So I'm using, actually here it's 128, because I don't know what's the ASCII code for W, for S, for D, and for A, but I know that those are from 0 to 128, somewhere around that. Yeah, so you can also look at the ASCII table and get a sense of which number represents which symbol, but you can see in this table that W is 119. All right, and now we have to do the mapping. So W means 0. Oh, actually no. S means 0 because this is down. Then we have right, which is 1, and then I can just copy this line, and W means 2 and A means 3. And then else I need a current direction. I think direction is with a single R, direction. This will be command to dir of on position command. And if we are curious, if we did the mapping right, we can also print this current direction and see if we did everything right until now. It's a really good thing when you're writing more complex programs to test them every time you implement a small part. So let's say I'm pressing up is 2. If I'm pressing down, so S is 0, A is 3, and D is 1. So we can quit this, and then we have to apply move of current direction, and we have a function apply move on on int direction. And now we need to take each piece on the which is not on the last line, because actually we do care also about things which are on the last line, because if we press up or if we press left, then those pieces also move, as you can see. So actually depending on the place, actually depending on the position we are starting from, we need to begin moving all the pieces. Or I think it may be easier if we just copy the whole board and start the movement. Yeah, I think I'll just copy the board and check that a move is valid. So this way I won't have to worry about which direction I should start the movement from. So I'll do a copy, board copy 4 and 4, and now let's start moving the pieces. Int I equals 0, I is smaller than 4 plus I for int j equals 0, j is smaller than 4 plus j. And yeah, it would be a bit hard to simulate this because I need to think if yeah, actually the doing a copy of the board doesn't work, because if I'm doing a copy, I still need to check for combinations. Yeah, so I need to think better about this thing, and also whenever new game is called, this should be called also before starting the loop. And here I need to also generate the first two. So I need to seed time, and this will help me generate a random position. And now I want to build a function which gives me a random unoccupied position on the board. Okay, and I need a function which will return a pair of two integers. Narrate unoccupied position. It won't take any parameters, but it will return a pair of two numbers which int occupied equals 1 while occupied line equals random mod 4. So I'm generating a random position on the line. I'm generating a random line, and I will also generate column the same way. And now if board line and column equals 0, then occupied becomes 0, and I'll return make where line and column, and line and column shouldn't be declared here. They should have been declared right here. Line and column. All right. So now when I'm calling new game, where int position equals generate unoccupied position, and then board of I and j equals 2. And now if I'm now I have a compilation error which says that I forgot to close some bracket, but I don't see which bracket. Expected primary expression before. Oh, it's on line 44. I was looking at in the wrong place. But let's comment out this line because I'll implement that afterwards. I was not declaring this code with post.first and post.second. All right, let's see how this works out. Okay, so I have a 2 right here. I think the interface will look nicer if I use dots, because you can't actually tell what's the position of that 2 if there are spaces on the left of him and on the right. And by using dots, we'll have a much better image of the board. All right, and now we have to do the moves. First of all, I just move the number without taking into account all the possible combinations. Or actually not. Let's do it the right way from the beginning. Okay, so now we have to decide from where we want to start. So start line will be 0 and start column will be 0. Now if direction equals, if we are going up, no, actually if we are going down, then we need to start from the last line. So if direction is 0, then this will mean that start line will equal 3. I also need to do do a direction for line. Actually, it's called step for LineStep, and this would decide if we're going from up to down or from down to up, and also column step, and this is the same way if we are going left to right or right to left. So if we're going from down to up, then line step will be -1. And also if direction equals 1, I think, if we're going to the right, then start column will be 3 and column step will be -1. All right, and now we just have to iterate through the board and see if we can move something, and if we can move anything, then okay, and now we have to iterate through the board and see if we can move anything, and if we can, then we need to generate a new piece. Okay, so this will be start line. I will be smaller than 4, and also I will be greater or equal than 0. This way we don't have to care about limits, because I will increase with LineStep. I did these variables. I've used these variables because it will help me have much cleaner for loops, and it will make me and I won't need to worry that much about how to take care about everything being inside the board and combining the pieces into the right order without writing a lot of cases. Start column, j is smaller than 4, but j is also bigger or equal than 0, and j plus equals column step. Okay, so now I'll need next I, which will be I plus how did I call it? Direction of line of direction, and next j, which will be j plus direction column for direction. And now I have to check if those two, if the next position is inside the board. So if I'm not at the end of the board, then I need to check that I can actually do the move. All right. And then I can have the function can do move of. I think it would be better if I just do ij next I and next j, and here I'll also check if I can combine the two pieces. So if I can combine the two pieces, I'll just add in the next position. Okay, so if this will be inside the if, but then so this function will be used inside an if, but first let's write the function. Bool can do move int line int column int next line int next column, and let's see if I can really do the move. So if so first of all, we need to be sure that next line and next column is inside. So if they're not inside, so if next line is smaller than 0, or next column is smaller than 0, or next line is greater or equal than 4, or next column is greater than or equal than 4, then we are returning false. We can't do the movement will just go, because it will just get outside the board. And then we have to check if we can combine them. So if board of line and column equals board. No, actually, if it's not the same, and I can put this in the same if statement, so we have a shorter function, then true. So if it's different board, then and if it's also non-zero, because if it's 0, we can do the move. All right, so if it's different than board of next line and next column, I'll go on the next on the next line. So if those two are different and this thing is not 0 and this thing is different than 0, then it means we can't do the move. And if we can do the move, then uh, the of board of next I and next j will get added the value of board of I and j, and board of I and j will be 0 because it will get moved. And I also want to know if I was able to move at least one piece, and if it's this will be 0, and if the move was possible, then I also need to generate a new piece. But before doing that, let's check that what I've written until here is correct. Let's see. So I have the board, and now let's move it 2 times to the right and see if it goes out the board or not. Actually, it doesn't get moved at all. And I have to find the mistake. I also need to remove the print statement, which was just for verification purposes. Okay, so now I apply a move in the direction 1, and if it's the direction 1, then I start from the column 3 and I need to go back. Okay, let's see. So I'm starting from start line, which is 0, and I'll keep everything inside, and then I have next I and next j. And the fastest way to see if I'm doing everything right is just to print I and j, and afterwards to see the next I and the next j. Okay, so now I'm going down, and from 3-0 to 4-0. Okay, so it turns out that the positions are correct. So that means that we're not doing something right in the so we're not doing something right in the applying the moves. So if I can do the move ij next I and next j, oh, actually next column should be greater or equal than 4, not than 0. I think this was the mistake. Let's see now. So now I want to move the 2 down, and it went down. Let's remove the print statements. Okay. So let's see if I can go to the right. Yeah, I can go to the right, and it doesn't go out the board. Let's see if I can go up. Yeah, it doesn't go out the board. And now let's go down, and it doesn't go down. So as you can see, I can move the piece. And now let's also add a new piece to the board. So if the move was possible, then I need to add a new tool, and I think I'll extract this into a function. So this would be add piece, because otherwise I would write the same code twice, and I don't want to do that because it's not nice to write the same code twice. If move possible, then add piece. And I also need to take care for in this function so that I won't I'm not able to so I won't try to generate when the board is full, but this won't happen because any move we are trying to do on a full board, it won't be possible, so the piece won't be added. Okay, so let's see. And actually, I did a different version of this game because if I'm trying to do right, it will go just one position to the right, and they won't combine until now. So I have to go down 2 times before combining them. I also don't want to see a lot of prints here, so I think I can do something like before printing the UI, I can do something like system clear screen, and now we'll have every time just one board. All right, so now I'm going down, and I can play some sort of version of the game. It's not the best version because it's not like the real one, but it's still decent. Now let's see about how we can implement the right version. So whenever I'm pressing down, I need to uh, move everything until the end, until no moves are possible. Okay, let's stop this. And also, you see here when I'm printing 32 or 16, the board isn't aligned anymore. So I want to fix that, and I need to set the width. I think set width of 4. And for doing that, I use IO manip. And I think for each piece, I'll have to do set W of 4, because if we are using if we reach 2048, it will have 4 digits. Let's see if it looks decent or not. Probably won't look that good, but however, I think we'll still have a good idea. Yeah. Let's try and get the 16 and see how everything will look. Yeah, it looks fine, so we're able to play the game and understand what's happening. And now let's do the thing where we're doing the move like in the game. So you see when I'm pressing up, the 2 goes until the top position. And actually this is pretty simple to simulate. We just have to repeat the one step move more times, and we'll get what we want. Actually, this game is so addictive then that instead of me just implementing it, I'm also playing it. But yeah, I have to stop and do the last part of the game. And I think I just need to repeat this thing until I have moves. So if a move was possible, I need to do this while I can do the move. But also I need to take into account this thing for adding a piece. So this thing will be done while move possible, and at each step I have to do move possible equals 0, and I'll also do add piece, which will be 0. And here I'll also do can add piece. Can add piece is can add piece, and this will be 1. So the difference between those two variables is that we'll check each time if at least one piece was moved, and if at least one piece was moved, then it means that we can try another time to move everything. And if not, we'll stop moving all the pieces. But if we manage to do that at least one step, then it means that we should add a piece. So the do while instructions basically makes sure that whenever you're pressing a direction, like here, if I'm pressing down, it makes sure that 4 will be moved 2 steps. If I'm pressing up, it makes sure that the 4 will be moved 4 steps. I hopefully you'll get the idea. If you don't understand something, please let me know in the comments. I'll answer all of your questions and help you understand better what I'm doing. If you don't understand what do while is or any other basic instruction like a for loop or this matrix, just go on our website and look through our course and you'll understand all those concepts and you'll be able to write such a game on your own. And let's test the game now. It should work fine now. Okay, let's move the 2 down and it goes for infinite. Yeah, so it goes for infinite. It doesn't stop, so this means that this condition is wrong. So it means that this will always be true, and I don't understand why. Let's see what. Oh, because here move possible. This thing is wrong because it won't be able to move any piece because move possible will be 0 at the end of this while. So I have to have here can add piece. And it turns out that move possible always becomes 1 and I don't understand why. Because what this thing should do is move a piece. It is just do 1 step of the movement, and as you saw before, whenever the movement was not possible, the move possible was 0. So let's print board. Print UI afterwards and just read a random character in order to see what happens in each step and figure out what's happening in the wrong way. So this is the board and now I want to move, let's say I want to move down. And it hasn't happened anything. Now let's try and move right. And I don't know why isn't happening anything. And let's also comment this thing and add here a debug print to understand when is this function called. This happens before getting into apply move, and now we want to move left. And as you see, we have the debug print here, and now I can input a random character, and it seems that it stays there, but it thinks that it still can do some moves, but obviously it can't. Yeah, and I know why this is happening, and this is happening because this happens also when there's a 0 here. So whenever whenever my program can combine 2 zeros, it thinks it can do the move. So here I need to also add that board of line and column is not 0. Yeah, wait. I think it's better to just put that here. So if board of I and j, this means that if I'm not putting it's different than 0, it means the same thing. So basically this is equivalent with board of I and j is different than 0. And let's see now. I'm having this port and I want to move down, and you see it went down. Now I want to move this to down. Now I want to go right, and then down, and I also need to add the clear screen again, because otherwise the game won't look nice at all. And we can also do a thing which would animate somehow this thing. We can just print here UI, and for a tiny fraction of time you will see how the piece moves, I think. Let's try it out and see if that works or not. Obviously, doing C++ games in console isn't the the right way of implementing games. So if you're trying to build a real game, use something which is the so if you are trying to build a real game, don't use C++. Use some technology which was made for writing games. Yeah, you can. I think you may saw here that the two moves. Now you can look here, and if I'm pressing D, then the two went to the right, and now we just need to um, add the message for whenever the player wins. We need to tell him, "Oh, congratulations, you won," um, and we also need to let the player continue his game even if he obtain 2048. Um, yeah, but actually, I leave this as a homework for you to implement the messages and make a game which is more user friendly. So this was it basically. I hope you understood what I've implemented, and if you want to do like the real game, you can use JavaScript to build it in a browser, or you can use React Native if you want to build it for a mobile phone, or you can use Java for Android or Swift for iOS. But the main idea is, how would you design the algorithm? How would you hold everything in the memory? Thanks a lot for watching till the end. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned a lot of new things from it. If you want, you can try and build it on your own and add all those messages. Don't forget to use the right technology if you're actually trying to build a real game. The point of this video was just to help you understand how you store everything in memory, because the basics look the same way even if you use C++, even if you use JavaScript or any other technology. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to our channel in order to be up to date with all the new videos that we'll be releasing. And if you didn't understand anything from this video, don't forget to check out our course. You'll learn there the basics which I've used in this tutorial. I wish you all the best, and until next time, I hope you'll write a lot of games and you'll hit the Play Store and get a lot of downloads and 5-star reviews.